Good evening, Bible study group. I am on my second account today, Facebook. For whatever reason, I have no idea. I haven't been as active as I normally am on my first account, but basically I have a suspension from going live for almost a month on my first account. So you'll have to get used to me on my second account. If there's anybody in the Bible study group that is not connected with me over here, please let me know in the comments so that we can connect on this second account and I'll be able to tag you. You know, I tried to tag who I could in the Bible study group today, but obviously this is public, so everybody's welcome to join. And you can see what I have in the title here, Matthew 5:9. A lot of people might think, well, that's been around forever. You know, what's that got to do with Bible prophecy? That's good. If you're thinking that way, I'm glad that you're thinking that way. I'm about to show you. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. You know, I was standing about a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years ago now, on the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus was teaching the Beatitudes, and he was perched up from the beach. So it wasn't on the beach like a lot of people think. He was perched up on a grade. And there was an area where I was at where they said, you know, this is most likely where he was standing when he taught that sermon. And it was a great place for a lot of people to be standing on the beach. There was lots of room. And he was able to give his sermon. And I'm thinking that there was so many people there at the time that he probably had to have people, his disciples, going and actually relaying the message, because there was probably literally thousands of people there. And but what does that got to do with Bible prophecy? Well, we're seeing a lot of peacemaking moves happening under the Trump administration. And I apologize for not being as active lately, guys and gals, because all you know, I'm just about over the flu. I had a nasty cough, a fever, and all of that fun stuff, but I am much better now. Believe it or not, I'm much better, so you're going to see more of me, more active and everything like that. But the Trump administration is making moves for peace. Now, there's lots of reasons why people love war, because those advanced weapons get marketed and moved around through black marketing, and a lot of the weapons that we have sold Ukraine under the Biden administration have found their way to the Mexican cartels. Yeah, the javelins and things like that. The Mexican cartels are carrying those around on the southern border. So you're like, how did they get that? Through a black market. And so Donald Trump, I'm taking him at his face value, his word. What he says is, I want to see people stop dying. Okay? What does Jesus say about that? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. For those of you who are very judgmental on every single thing that Donald Trump does, better go back to the Bible and listen to what Jesus says, okay? So for anybody who is a peacemaker that's genuinely seeking peace, you're in a very good position for God's blessing. And so never forget that. That's not only in a personal life, but in a leadership role too. There are lots of people dying on the battlefield in Ukraine. Now, I have some prophetic implications where we're going based on the last Bible study that I gave everybody, that I think you're going to find this is a little bit interesting. I'm going to move forward in the time clock here, but I want to show you something in an article. I was looking at this. Trump hopes Putin agrees to ceasefire as Moscow signals no truce yet. Trump says if Russia says no to ceasefire, it will be very disappointing. It will be a very disappointing moment for the world. Okay? He's holding out hope that Russia will agree to a ceasefire with Ukraine as the first step to ending the brutal 3-year-long war. Now, one thing I can tell you that I saw recently just before I came on live is that Russia says they don't want a ceasefire, they want lasting peace. They want lasting peace. There's several things that they're seeking that they've been seeking for a long time. And this is going to tie into Bible prophecy 100%. If I can put this together in a way that helps everybody understand how the pieces of the puzzle will fall into play in the scriptures, you'll understand it quite well. Because, okay, for example, one of the demands that Russia has had for a long time regarding Ukraine is that they don't want them to become a member of NATO. Okay? And this is something that Putin has been fighting the United States with for a long time, because it goes all the way back to Barack Obama. When Obama was putting his own favorable president, what he wanted in Ukraine, and Russia was trying to put a favorable president to Russia in Ukraine. So that was a battle, and that was going on during the Obama administration, and there was big rioting happening in Kiev over that. And so the pro-Russian president for Ukraine had to flee for his life to Belarus. I remember that some years ago. And so there has been a power for control over Ukraine between Russia and the West for a long time. And so I understand Russia's position in this. And I'm not saying that Vladimir Putin is a super saint or anything like that, but like, you don't want your enemies on a border. Like you and I voted for Donald Trump, a lot of you, because we want our border secure, right? We don't want people coming across our border with drugs and gangs and child trafficking and meth and fentanyl and all of that. We don't want that stuff coming across our border. Well, give me 1 second. Hello? Hello? I'm sorry about that, guys. Sometimes people will call me in my office here in my room, and it will happen to we're right in the middle of a Bible study, and I'm very sorry about that. They might call me back. So if they call me back, apologies in advance. It happens. What can I tell you? Okay, so Vladimir Putin does not want policies that are detrimental to Russia's sovereignty on their border. I understand that, okay? I understand that in general. I understand that. And so, all of us could not stand Barack Obama being a shadow president under the Biden administration for 4 years, right? So if you're Vladimir Putin, would you want Obama, a shadow president under some leadership in Ukraine, on your doorstep? No, you wouldn't want that either, okay? So there are things that I see Russia has valid points for. They absolutely have a valid point for that, okay? And so Donald Trump is holding out for peace. And I want to tell you something. This fits right into Bible prophecy. This fits right into Bible prophecy. Here's what I predict. I predict that the Trump administration is going to be successful to negotiate not only a ceasefire with this war, but to put the war, I want to say, on hold, and it will look like it's permanent, okay? But obviously during the 7-year tribulation, things are going to change a lot. But during the Trump administration, obviously he's only president for 4 years, and then Putin's got to deal with another U.S. president. So that's something else to take into consideration if you are somebody in Russia who is looking at this and like, well, what happens if America gets another Democrat as president, right? What am I going to have to deal with? Okay. Let me show you this. Watch. Let me take you over to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 3. Now, before I start reading some of this, George Gibson, thank you very much, brother, for your Bible studies. I've been watching them, and I hope you keep that going. You're doing very well, sir. God bless you, and I will support your Bible studies on the timeline. Let's keep it going, brother. I hope there's more people in our group that make Bible studies like we're doing. That would be amazing. because everybody has something to bring to the table when it comes to these Bible studies, 100%. Okay? Now, Paul says this to Timothy, okay? We have to revisit some of these scriptures because they're playing out right now. This also know that in the last days, that's right now, okay, perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection. That's LGBTQ. Here's the big one, okay? Truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. And I can go on and on and on, but this is an absolute, as good of a description as anybody can write for this generation that we're living in right now, 100%. But the key word phrase that I want to highlight in this passage that I just read to you is truce breakers, okay? There's going to be a truce that happens with this Russia-Ukraine war that Donald Trump is going to help facilitate, okay? It's in Putin's best interest to try to end this war because it will benefit his nation greatly economically. Nobody other than Donald Trump can get something like this done, help facilitate something like this. And I say that very unapologetically. It's as a matter of fact type of thing, okay? For those of you who are critical of Donald Trump, or you hate Donald Trump, or you think everything that he, or some of the things that he does is big mistakes or whatever, right? I'm just telling you as a matter of fact. There's nobody else right now that could put a hold on this war, 100%. I'm telling you that unfiltered. I'm telling you that unbiased. Why? Because God's got his hand on Donald Trump right now to fulfill Bible prophecy. These types of things have to happen to take it to the next level. This is what I want to tell you. Now, you understand what Russia looks like under a Biden administration, or who let the dogs out type of thing with Europe. Okay, like they're all tough guys with just a bunch of talk, and how they hug Vladimir Zelensky in his military uniform, parading around pimping himself for money. I can't prove it, but Russia seems to claim he's a drug addict on cocaine, and he takes the money and does a lot of things that we have no idea. Like half of the money that's been given to Ukraine is unaccounted for, and he admits it. All right, what does that tell you? Billions of dollars? Where did that money go? Why was there no accountability for that? What was this previous administration doing? Just very uncapitalistically giving our tax dollars to Ukraine without us having a say in it? You know? I mean, the Trump administration has inherited a gigantic mess. Now let me take you over to Daniel chapter 8. I'm just going to read this to you without describing the whole story here. But this goat represents a nation in Daniel 8:8, okay? This goat is going to be running roughshod over anything that gets in this goat's way. 100%, okay? Why is this goat has one horn? Why is that? Because this goat has one horn because it's under one leader. One leader. This leader's not going to be manipulated, told what to do. It's going to make it's going to have the final decision on everything that it does. Okay. I'm going to read this one verse, and then I'm going to move you over to another area. Okay. Daniel 8:8 says, "Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, When he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the winds of heaven. We've seen 4 nations that want to align themselves with the Trump administration. I had posted that about a week ago. And so I haven't been able to keep up on that alliance, but it's like they absolutely agree with everything that Donald Trump is doing, and they're on board. Good to see you, Rebecca. I am on my second account because my first account, I can't go live for 1 month. Can you imagine? So it is what it is, you know. I'm going to upload this on YouTube, and I'm going to start promoting my YouTube channel a little bit more this year. Maybe getting more subscribers and more content and things like that on there. And for the Bible study group, I'm with you all for the foreseeable future, Lord willing. As long as God allows me to, as long as he allows me to be in his plans with whatever he's doing, I'm going to be with all of you all the way to Rapture Day, whenever that is. That's my commitment to you, because I feel like God has called me to do this, and it's very important. Not enough people are doing it, and so, but I have a heart for this, and he is number 1 in my life. Everything else is number 2. I get distracted like everybody else does in worldly things, but he's number 1, everything else is number 2. So I'm with you in the foreseeable future for these Bible studies and prophecy updates and everything that I can bring to the table. I'm going to let it all hang out as much as I can, especially when I get back home. I'll be in my environment, and I'll be sharing as much as I can. So with that said, right, we're living under a few descriptions that the Bible describes before the rapture, before the church is taken and removed. Number 1, we're entering into peace and safety, peace and security, peace and prosperity. When they cry peace and safety, what happens next? Then sudden destruction cometh upon them as a woman in travail, and they shall not escape. That is the bad news. But the good news is, short term, is that we are going to get to enjoy peace and safety, peace and security. And prosperity comes along with that. Doge in America and a lot of what the Trump administration is doing with these policies and tariff wars and things like that, don't get too caught up in what the media is telling you. Oh, this is bad, and this is not good, and we're in a trade war now. Oh, this is awful. No, it's necessary. You know, these people that are complaining about it on mainstream media, and dare I say like Bill O'Reilly and some of them, conservatives, let me tell Bill O'Reilly, Mr. Wise Man Know-It-All, you know, we were getting ripped off for not only in the last 4 years, but for decades. Where were you not talking about that? Or if you were, was not your priority? Because it's being dealt with now, because these people are angry in Europe and everywhere else, and in Canada, that Donald Trump is starting to say, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. Let the war begin and let us win, okay? I do have an account on Rumble. Yes, Rebecca, I do. In fact, that's one of the things that I need to do, is I need to start having some live feeds over on Rumble, and I should be uploading these videos on Rumble as well. And so you're right. I've always used Facebook as like the main arm of what I'm doing because of the presence of conservatives and Christians. It seems like we wouldn't be there, right? But there is lots of Christians and conservatives and patriots on Facebook. From my experience, that's where they are. Now, is there a lot of knuckleheads on Facebook? Yes, there is. But there's lots of conservatives there. And so I want to reach them. I want to go on True Social. I have an account there as well. And I want to reach them too. So I want to reach everywhere that's within my ability to do it, you know. And these updates are fascinating. For the Bible student, it's going to be very fascinating to listening to this, okay? So we're in the season of peace and safety, peace and prosperity. You understand how late the hour is. If we're in that portion of God's timeline, what comes next? Sudden destruction. What has to come before sudden destruction? The removal of the church, because God's not going to allow his bride to be crushed. I don't care what post-tribulation and mid-tribulation people have to say about it. They are wrong. They are wrong. They are wrong. They don't know how to discern the scriptures. They don't know how to interpret the scriptures correctly. They don't know how to rightly divide. And they're probably, furthermore, most of them are probably in the wrong translation of the Bible and to begin with. They have their favorite version, right? I like King James, but we have a few Hebrew-speaking Christians in our timeline that will give us the Hebrew translations of what we're reading. And so, you know, when it comes to the rapture of the church, it's a pre-tribulation rapture. It makes the most sense to understand, like, it is such a weak argument. And the people that believe in a mid or post-tribulation rapture, and I'm sorry to talk about this, I'm going to get to the timeline here of what happens next, okay? But like, for people that believe in a mid or post-tribulation rapture, you don't understand the love that God has for you. You don't understand it at all. You're like that man in the parable that Jesus gave that took his one talent and buried it in the dirt. Remember that? And he didn't want to do anything with his talent. And the other servants went and took their talents and they doubled them. They tripled them for God. And they said, look, I took what you gave me and I made more money with it, or I had this profit for you. And the master was very happy with those servants. The one says, here's your talent. I didn't do anything with it. I was afraid because I know you're a hard man, right? You're hard. And, you know, I don't want to make you angry and all of that stuff. And he had excuses. And so, like, these mid and post-tribulation people are like that servant. We know you're a hard man. We know God's hard. We know he's going to, you know, they don't understand the love that God has for them at all. They don't understand. Well, why do you think I can do what I do, for better or worse, mistakes or whatever? It's because the bracelets are off of my wrists and the shackles are off of my ankles because I know of God's love for me, and he's letting me do it. He's letting me go forward because I'm taking my talent and I'm making a profit for God on this stuff, okay? So what does that got to do with the rapture of the church? I'm telling you that people that are mid and post-tribulation don't understand God's love that he has for them. He will not allow his fiancée, his bride, to be crushed. It makes absolutely no sense at all. If you're engaged to be married, would it make sense for you to say to your fiancé, well, you're going to have to prove your love for me, so I'm gonna take you by the seat of your pants and push you out into oncoming traffic and let you get squashed by cars, or I'm going to throw you off of a building, or I'm going to push you off of Niagara Falls, or something like that to prove your love for me? No, that's ridiculous. You don't do that with your fiancé. You do everything you can to protect your fiancé. Furthermore, this is where it gets really great for these post and mid-tribulation people. They don't understand that God lives in here and in here. And if they understood that, guess what? God says, it's a one and done on the cross. He's not going to punish his son a second time. So he will not. There is a difference between the wrath of God, the wrath of Satan, and the wrath of man. The 7-year tribulation is all three. But God he can't pour his wrath out on the earth with his son living inside of people. He's got to remove, right? He has to remove his son out of the way first, and us. So, you know, like, I love talking about this stuff because it makes just too much sense. And I have scriptures for days that I can take people to that. That's no problem. Now let's move up in this timeline a little bit, okay? So we have, blessed are the peacemakers, right? And Donald Trump is a peacemaker. And he's going to create a peace with Russia and Ukraine, with the Middle East. He plays 3D chess. Believe me when I tell you, he's playing 3D chess right now. And he's going to make peace, okay? Now, the bad news is in the scriptures is that this peace is not going to hold. It will hold for a while with the right leadership, but it's not going to hold forever. It's not going to hold forever because, you know, we had that yucky feeling in our stomach and in our mind by the Biden administration. Well, something like that is coming in the future under the Antichrist. And so, good news for the church. We won't be here for that, okay? But in Timothy, it says that there will be truce breakers and all kinds of false accusers and homosexuals running around everywhere. And this is exactly where we find ourselves right now. We find ourselves there, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. Okay? So what's going to happen here is that there's going to be a peace deal made. There will be a peace deal made. And everybody is going to laud the peace deal. And Donald Trump will be mentioned as a candidate for the Nobel Peace Prize. If you all can't see the writing on the wall for that, I don't know what to tell you, but that's what's coming. That will come. Okay? But here's where it gets bad. Okay? Here's where it gets bad. When this deal that happens in Gaza turns into a deal that creates a Palestinian state for the Palestinians, this could be, or could not be with Donald Trump. It could be with this future man of sin, where he changes it to what he wants and he violates the blood covenant that God has with Abraham by giving the Palestinians half of Jerusalem. That could be the Antichrist that does that. It may not be Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is absolutely in God's plans to set up the environment for the 7-year tribulation. Okay? This is 100%. 100%. Or it's very late in the hour. Like, you guys, if some of you don't understand that, I don't know what to tell you, but it's very, very late. In the timeline, I want to say, of human history. Now, people are very short-sighted when I say that. They're like, well, how soon are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about relatively in a generation. Like, that's where we're at. We're in the final generation before the rapture of the church, pre-tribulation rapture. We're definitely... And so all I'm doing is taking the scriptures and navigating where we are. And we're in this time of peace and safety, peace and security. Like, that will be realized for a while. Now, what happens is, whatever this deal with Russia is going to look like, it will hold for a while until Daniel 8:8, until the great horn is broken off of the goat and 4 notables rise in his place. Okay, 4 notable nations. And out of one of these 4 notable nations in Daniel 8:8, Gabriel tells us the little horn will rise. The little horn is the Antichrist. So out of one of these 4 nations, we have it narrowed down to 4 nations where this Antichrist will come from, will rise a little horn, okay? And he's going to wax exceedingly great, even to the host of heaven, it says. And he is going to be cutting off the animal sacrifices in the 3rd temple, the new temple, and all of that stuff that's going to be rebuilt. What happens with Russia? What's going to happen with Russia? Well, as soon as this great horn is broken off of the goat, which means it's the end of America as we know it, that's what it means, okay? I'm going to elaborate on that in great detail in the future. It means that basically we're going to have in Ezekiel chapter 38 a new alliance. Russia's going to have a new alliance with other nations that think like they do, that want what they want and everything else. And we read a description of that in Ezekiel chapter 38. So we're moving forward in the timeline here. This is going to be some time in the 7-year tribulation after the church is removed. Now, there will be some Bible students that tell me, or teachers that tell me, David, well, this has to do with the second coming of Jesus and also at the end of the millennial reign, because Ezekiel 38 and 39 describes a battle that Jesus himself will deal with. And the only thing I can tell these Bible teachers and students is that, look, in Revelation it describes this same thing. But what did Solomon tell us in Ecclesiastes 1:9? He says, history repeats itself, okay? So what I'm looking at in Ezekiel 38 about this coalition that Russia will have with other nations to literally like attack Israel will happen twice, maybe 3 times. And so their analysis is not necessarily wrong, But it absolutely is going to happen before the second coming. It's going to happen during the time that the Antichrist is ruling this earth, okay? And his power will increase. About 3.5 years into the 7-year tribulation, he'll implement his beast system, the mark of the beast, and it's a financial system as well. So like all of this AI and everything that we're dealing with, incredible stuff, and crypto is going to be part of the beast system. And so these signs that we're looking at is absolutely proof positive that we're in it. And it's just going to get more and more and more. And that's how the Antichrist will control everybody, through the financial markets. So in Ezekiel 38, it describes a battle, okay? Excuse me, I've still got that cough a little bit. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, this is in Ezekiel, Son of man, set thy face against Gog and the land of Magog, the chief of prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophecy against him. I want to make sure to mention this every single time when I do read this, that God is calling out a fallen angel here. He's not necessarily calling out a man ruling Magog. Although there is a literal man in Magog, which is in the area of Russia, Moscow. Absolutely. But you have to understand that in Satan's kingdom, in his army, there are fallen angels that control certain kingdoms of the world, okay? And this is very biblically sound doctrine, that this is, the Bible tells us 100%. In Ephesians chapter 6, and if you look at Daniel struggling with the prince, he was trying to get a word from the Lord for the end times, and the prince of Persia intercepted Gabriel. The prince of Persia is a fallen angel. In fact, it's probably Satan himself. Intercepted Gabriel, so that Gabriel could not give Daniel the message, but Michael came and fought with this prince of Persia to allow Gabriel to come and give him the message. And so like, this is a strategic thing that you see, that there's battles going on. Like in Revelation 12, you see this battle between Satan and his angels and Michael and his angels. This happens all the time. It's for the souls of men. And these fallen angels at times control kings and presidents and prime ministers and judges and Supreme Court justices at times. And yeah, absolutely, like it goes all the way down the ranks. So in this first section here, you're seeing Gog, Magog. This is God calling out this chief prince or principality of Meshach and Tubal. And he's telling this fallen angel, I am against thee, O Gog. There's, this is not a human. This is a fallen angel named Gog, the chief prince of Tubal, Meshach and Tubal. I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws and bring thee forth, all of thine army and horses and horsemen, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, and a great company with bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords. And here's the coalition: Persia, Ethiopia, Persia's Iran, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer, which is Germany, Tagmara, that's Turkey, and Syria is going to be involved in this as well. And God is dragging them all. Why? What's he doing putting a hook in their jaw? Because he's going to drag them. Anytime God has a problem with a nation or a people, he drags them to Israel, or God will get them involved in the affairs of Israel that violate his blood covenant with Abraham. This is how God deals with nations that he's angry with. He will drag them forward for judgment. Justifiably so, by the way. 100% justifiably so. And so what will happen is, when this peace deal that Donald Trump has breaks down, someday it will break down, Russia's going to have its own coalition of nations, and they're going to look at the prosperity of Israel, and they're going to say, we want that. Well, let's go take it, because America's not around anymore. Let's go take it. Okay? And this is exactly, and they don't understand that they're picking a fight with God here. And God is saying in verse 7 to prepare yourself and all the company that's with you. After what? In verse 8, after many days, Thou shalt be visited when? In the latter years. Thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people, and against the mountains of Israel, which have always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they dwell safely. And you'll ascend like a storm, like a cloud to cover the land, and all your bands and people that are with you. And it'll come to pass, at that same time shall come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And you'll say, I will go up to a land of unwalled villages. I will go up to them that are at rest, that dwell safely. All of them without walls, neither having bars nor gates. Now I want y'all to understand something. That doesn't describe Israel right now. This Israel that we have right now has got nuclear weapons. They've got weapons. They've got American weapons. They got an Iron Dome. They got it. All right. So this is future tense. This is some deal that has happened where Israel is relying on somebody else for its protection. We're going to see some incredible things go down in our lifetime, guys and gals. We're going to see some very history-making things happening in the Middle East that will cause the rapture of the church and the 7-year tribulation to start. But this is what it's going to look like. And Russia's going to come to want to take a spoil. And it goes on to say in verse 13 that there's a protest that's happening here. Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish and all the young lions thereof shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take prey, to carry away silver and gold, and to take away cattle and goods, and take a great spoil? What is it that Trump wanted to do with Gaza? Remember, make it an oasis of the Middle East. Okay? He's playing 3D chess. What's it going to look like? Is America going to take over Gaza 100%? Or is he baiting those other Arab nations and luring them into discussion? I think that's what's happening here. Okay? Again, Donald Trump is in power to fulfill Bible prophecy. Okay? The main thing to take away from all of this for Christians is like, make sure you're solid with God. People that are not Christian, God's preparing your heart. You need to get right with him right now. Accept what he did for you on the cross, because you do not want to be around for this stuff. I'm telling you, that's going to be very, very horrific and bad, and people are going to die. Many people are going to die. This peace and safety, peace and prosperity thing is going to come to an end, and it's going to be hell on earth. So what are we in right now? We're in the peace and safety. We're going to see how far that takes us. Probably, I want to say, into the next 3 years. Something like that. Until the main thing to watch for me and what I'm watching myself, I watch all of the things that are happening in our country. I love watching the trade wars. I love watching what's happening in Europe and Russia and Ukraine. But the main thing that gets my attention the most is, what is Donald Trump going to do with Israel? How is he going to solve the crisis in Gaza? I believe that in Zephaniah chapter 4, that Hamas is finished. I don't think they have a future. They're going to be done. And that whole place is going to be excavated. Has to be, by other Arab nations. The United States is not going to pay for that. But Trump is setting the environment for other nations to come in. There might be a U.S. presence there to ensure safety, to disarm bombs and terrorist traps and all kinds of stuff in Gaza, and with the cooperation of Israel. But at the same time, it's going to be other Arab nations that pay for a restructuring of Gaza. They all want that, okay? Like, it's a foregone conclusion. Now, the only question is, how long will it take? Well, we're going to see some really, like I said, we're going to see some really amazing things happening in the next 3 years. Buckle up, fasten your seatbelt. It's going to get real interesting. But as far as future tense goes, as soon as the great horn of that goat is broken off in Daniel 8:8, that's the end of America, okay? That's the end of America. Did you honestly think that Jesus Christ is going to come and rule in America for all eternity? No, that's not going to happen. He's coming back to Jerusalem to rule in Jerusalem forever and forever. It's got nothing to do with America at all. Remember where your loyalty really lies, Christian. It's with the kingdom of God, okay? That's where your future home is supposed to be. So think about on those things. Do the right thing. Vote your conscience, vote and do what's right. God will judge you on those merits someday, of course. But don't forget the big picture and what the Bible says is going to happen and where we are right now. And goodness, the Bible is not silent about where we are right now. We're in the thick of things right now. I hope you enjoyed this little update. I will be on with a pre-recorded Bible study for Proverbs chapter 21, and I'm going to get all the way to 31 eventually. I'm going to get that all done. Then I'm going to have a very important Bible study on eternal security. I want people to understand when you get saved, you can't lose your salvation. And don't listen to the knuckleheads on Facebook telling you you can. You can't. They don't know God. If they want to tell you this stuff, you want to believe them or do you want to believe your Savior? Who do you want to believe, okay? I'm going to give you God's words himself. I'm not going to let some knucklehead tell you you can lose your salvation. You can't. But salvation does come with disclaimers, and we'll go over all that, okay? We're going to go over the disclaimers of what being born again means, being in a blood covenant. You enter into a blood covenant with God through Jesus Christ. Did you know that? A lot of people don't even know that. Oh, all I have to do is believe, right? Which Jesus do you believe in? Jesus said there's many claiming to be him that are frauds, fake, hacks, LGBTQ, and yeah, claiming Roman Catholic, Pope, and all that stuff. Which Jesus? Do you believe in the Muslim Jesus, the Mormon Jesus, the Jehovah's Witness Jesus, the Chrislam Jesus? Which Jesus? Okay? The LGBTQ Jesus? Or the Jesus that supposedly supports abortion and things like that? Oh, yeah, it can get messy. Or do you believe in the Jesus that died for your sins, that hates sin? Are you going to hate what he hates and love what he loves? That's what the disclaimer is. We'll get into all of that in the future. And when you get done with that Bible study, you're going to be feeling very good about your salvation. 100%. God bless all of you. Thank you for your time. I will get this uploaded on YouTube, Rumble, and drop it over on X and on True Social. God bless you guys. Thank you very much. And have a wonderful, wonderful night and a nice weekend ahead. Take care.